All right, what's up everyone? My name is Matt and welcome back to another walkthrough video. In this walkthrough, I'm going to be showing you a lesson designed for grade 5 and the topic is occupations. Throughout this video, I'm going to be emphasizing things like classroom management and also the reasons why I use the type of games that I use. If you guys would like to teach this lesson yourself, don't forget there's a link in the video description below and you can download this PowerPoint in minutes. As always, if you guys enjoy content like this, don't forget to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It'd really help me out. All right, let's get into the walkthrough.
Okay, let's have a look at this PowerPoint. I am not going to go through the very beginning of the lesson where I go through the rules and everything like that. If you're curious about how I do that, you can literally click on any of the videos on my channel and see how I do it. So let's just skip ahead. Okay, the first thing I want to mention here is this lesson is designed for grade 5 or grade 6 or maybe even grade 4. And I think it's important that the students take notes. They get in the habit of writing down new information and new stuff, and it'll help them during the games, and like in the future weeks they'll be able to refer back to it, or when they go home they can show their parents what they learned in school. So I just think, especially for something like grade 5, having a notebook is very important. Yes, it will take more time in class because they're going to be writing stuff down, but by this age they should be able to write relatively quickly, and I'm not asking them to write really long stuff down, so they should be able to do it pretty quickly. So pretty much the way it works is if they see this little black notebook in the bottom left corner of the screen, they know that they should write this word down or the sentence down. And in my class, I'll check in the beginning of class like who has their notebook, who doesn't, and teams will lose points if they don't bring their notebook. So, okay. As far as a warm-up here, like I mentioned in a bunch of my other videos, I teach a 40 or 45-minute class once a week, and doing an extended warm-up is just not a very good use of my time. So generally, I just use the time in the beginning of class to review, review the previous weeks and allow them to actually practice. It's in the review of the previous weeks where they actually are making sure that they learn it and actually putting it in their long-term memory, because they're doing it so many times. I'll teach something one time and then for the next month they see it every week. And by the end of those 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever, they've mastered it. And when I show it on an exam or on the final, they know it. It's just second nature. And you'll see over the weeks as you're doing the review, more and more students will be raising their hand to participate because they feel more confident. They know exactly how to answer it. And it'll just solidify in their mind they know it, and they'll be more confident in the future. So the review is crucial. I use that time in the beginning to review. Okay, so one thing I want to mention here, and I think this is sort of a big misunderstanding when it comes to ESL and large public school classes, is that I'm not approaching this class the way like a teacher teaching to native speakers would approach the class, obviously. I mean, people mention like, oh, I play a lot of games and this and that. And the reason I do that is because I'm trying to use as many opportunities as I can to get them to use the target language, and motivating them with games, which are fun, which they feel like they have a stake in, is a great way to get them to say the language as many times as possible, and to get them to be invested in the lesson. So I know for me, I'm an athlete, a runner. I played basketball, soccer as a kid. I remember those things really, like it's like in my memory, in my long-term memory. Some really crucial events in my life happen during competition. So I know that in class, if there's competition, the students will be more likely to remember what they learn. And if I bring up 2 students or 4 students and we're playing a game where they have to say the target language or they have to like think quickly, there's a better chance they're going to remember that in the future, because it's more, I don't want to say emotional, but it just has a greater impact on them because they're like trying really hard. And the harder they're trying to come up with an answer during a game when there's pressure, the better chance they're going to remember it over the long term. If I'm not playing games, I just call people up and I'm like, okay, you do it. Like it'll work, but it'll be boring. And like the rest of the class, like the student who's actually doing it, they might actually learn. But in a large class, the students who are watching, who are on that student's team, who want them to win, they're also trying to think of the answer on that moment, either because they want to try to secretly tell them, which I discourage, but like I'm happy that they're that invested in the game that they want to help. I don't want them to cheat, but I want them to be looking and being like, oh, I know it, because they're also in the game, even though they're not the one who's actually playing. They're in it, they're watching and they're all focusing because they want to beat the other teams. So games are a great way to get them to learn. And when you're teaching something in another language, I'm not teaching necessarily, like I'm not necessarily teaching knowledge. I mean, some of the classes that I teach are kind of sheltered instruction, and I'll post more of those videos in the future where I'm focusing on like, I'm teaching a topic with the language, especially for grade 5 and 6, that's a great way to learn. But in this class I'm showing you today and the other classes I've posted recently, these are speaking classes. I'm trying to get them to talk. I want them to speak out in English, because if you're a native speaker of Chinese or any other language besides English, just getting your mouth to move in the correct way to speak the language is very difficult. Okay, you need to practice it. I mean, I am learning Chinese and have been learning Chinese for like 7 years, and to this day I still have trouble pronouncing certain things because I wasn't exposed to that as a child. I didn't start learning Chinese till I was like 28, and some of this stuff with my tongue, I can't even really pronounce this stuff correctly. So it's something I really want them to learn from a young age and encourage them. So I just want to say that before we jump into the lesson. Okay, teaching part 1. So the topic of the lesson is occupations. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is I want to just teach them this big word. Like a lot of the students in grade 5, they're going to know the word job. Maybe some of them have learned the word career, but I think it's a good opportunity to teach this other word they don't know. So I'll just show them this, as always, just the Chinese or the whatever the language is, wherever you are, plus like a picture, and they need to raise their hand and tell me what it is. If they don't know, then I'll show them, and you can see there's a notebook there, so they should be writing this word down in their notebook. All right, the first one. Now, in grade 5, a lot of them are going to know this, so I generally will choose in a class like 3 words, like I'll teach 6 new words generally, right? 6 new words. 3 of them I hope they probably know, and then maybe 2 or 3 of them they don't know. So maybe 3 or 4 they know, and then at least 2 I'm pretty sure that they don't know, or a lot of them don't know. I don't want to teach 6 brand new words the entire class, because we're going to be learning a question and an answer. So there's going to be a lot of new stuff they're producing. So some of the vocabulary should be stuff that they know, that they can either fall back on and know and be able to use that during the sentence, or just too hard to learn 6 new words like that. So the first one's doctor. It'll be easy. They'll write it down, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so this is maybe one of the harder ones. Some of the students are going to know it. There's going to be a large percentage of my grade 5 that doesn't know it. Okay, so if they know it, they'll raise their hand and tell me, then I'll show it, and then they write it down. Oh, I forgot to mention this. In this class, it's optional if you'd like to, with grade 5, to teach actions for each word, as I do with I do it generally with grade 3, grade 4, grade 2, definitely. Grade 5, I have done it, and I have had a lot of success with it. So like I'll have like an action like doctor, or like this is my doctor, like with the the stethoscope, So like I'll do this action and I'll say doctor, and I'll have the students be like following the action and saying the word as well. And I'll tell them, and my students generally know after a few weeks that I teach a word and an action. If I don't teach an action, I'll have students raise their hand and ask me, what's the action? Because they want to be ready when game time comes. Engineer. I think my engineer is like, I think I just like put my hands by my side. I think I just did like engineer or measuring something, engineer. I forget exactly what my action is. One of the things I would do with students after, like in the second semester, who knew I was going to have actions, is I would have the first or second class of the day like come up with actions with me, and like all the students are coming up with their own actions, and I'll be like, oh, this one's really good, and I'll be like, you stand up and come here, and they'll do their action. I'm like, I like this one, and I'll use that action for the rest of the year. Okay, so you don't have to like think I have to know every action before class starts. The kids like to be involved with that process as well. This one, they don't know. Okay, this is a hard one. And again, I'll have at least 2 or 3 hard ones I don't think they know. This one's programmer. Okay, so I'll have them write it down, and programmer, I'll probably like be on the computer. Programmer. This one's easier. I think most of the class will know it. It's soldier. So soldier, maybe he's holding a gun, holding a gun or aiming a gun. And as I'm going through these new other words, I'll go back and like pull out the actions for the ones we just learned, and they'll say doctor, engineer, soldier. I'll keep reviewing the actions as we go. This one I think is easy for grade 5. Grade 4 maybe not, but grade 5 they should definitely know it. It's scientist, and my action for scientist is like mixing chemicals. Scientist, something like this. And this one's easy, okay? This one's easy. Police officer. Again, doctor and police officer are the ones I think they all know. Scientist is like, most of them probably know. And then you got soldier, maybe half know. And then programmer, I think like almost none of them know it. And engineer, I would say 70% don't know it. Okay, so I'm trying to have a mix here between things I think they know and things they don't know. I'm not going to give them 6 words they don't know. That's too hard. Or 6 words they do know. That's too easy, and they'll be bored. Okay, so then I'll go through them all again, and you can drill by row or have the whole class drill. First I'll point at all of them. So police officer, soldier, doctor, scientist, programmer, engineer. Okay, and then I'll do the actions. So I'll just stand in the front, be doing the action. They need to say the word. So even though this isn't exactly a game, it's a great way to get them to drill. And so first I will say the word and they'll do the action at their seats. So for example, I'll say soldier and they'll soldier, okay, and say soldier. I'll say, my police officer I think is like this, police officer. I'll do the action for police officer. They'll all say it. Programmer. I'll say programmer and they'll all do the action. Sorry, I think I said that backward. I will say the word and they're all doing the action and saying the word. So I'll like literally go, soldier, and then they'll be like, give me the soldier, okay? And I'll be like, and they'll say soldier, and I'll say good job, and I'll say doctor, and then they'll do it, and then I'll do this pretty quickly just to review it really quickly, and then I'll just be standing at the front and quickly going through the actions. And because that's all on the board on the PowerPoint, and they can read it. It's not that difficult, okay? So I'll just be like, and they'll say scientist, engineer, soldier, doctor, police officer, programmer. So I'll just go through the actions really quickly. Okay, why? Because the first game involves the actions. Okay, it's called the hot seat game with actions. There's other hot seat games you can do where, like in the future, once they know these professions or occupations really well, and they even know what they do, which we're going to learn in the next lesson, the next week, I can actually just like show a flashcard on the board, and the students need to raise their hand and say what that profession does, and then they need to say the occupation, or the opposite, right? I'm drilling them for what each occupation does. Like for scientists, it's like do experiments, okay? So they might have to say scientist, and then in the game they have to say do experiments. But in this case, it's just the occupations, okay? So pretty much the way it works, it's very visual here. I will, on the board, have one of the flashcards blinking, or if you actually print out the flashcards, which if you do download this lesson, I'll email you the flashcards as well after that. You can either hold up a flashcard or on the PowerPoint show it, and the students in their seats need to do the action, whatever the action is. If it's soldier, it's like this, and the first student to say the correct word will get a point. So pretty much there's 4 students in the front, they're facing the class, they can't see the board, and I will show a flashcard on the board. The seated students need to do the action, okay, and the students standing in the front need to say the word. The first student to say the word gets 2 points, okay? Very simple. Okay, so let's see how this would look in the real game. So this is what the board looks like on the PowerPoint. I will bring up, if there's 4 teams, I'll bring up 4 students. If there's 2 teams, I'd probably still bring up 4 students, but like 2 students from each team. If you have more teams than that, then bring up 1 representative from each team. If you have 6 teams, bring up 6 students. If this is the first time they're playing the game and there's 4 teams, you can just select 2 of the teams, and bring up 1 student and say that it's an example just so they can see how it works. Your kids. If you think all 4 of them can come up and stand there nicely and do it, that's fine. But, in some classes, like, it's easier just to bring up, like, the students are definitely going to understand and be well behaved, so that they can show everyone else what to do. So pretty much the way it works is, let's say there's 4 students. They come up and they're facing their classmates. Okay, they can't see the PowerPoint behind them. And you tell all of the students sitting down, if they say anything, if they talk at all, they're going to lose points. They're going to lose 5 points. If you catch them cheating, they're going to lose 5 points. That's talking is cheating in this game. You can write it on the board if you like. No talking. Be quiet. Be very strict. If any students feel like, someone said the answer and that's why their teammate heard them, and then they didn't win because someone cheated, and you either like you just didn't see it, they're just going to feel like, throughout the rest of the class that they were cheated. And if they lose by 1 or 2 points, it's just not good. So be really strict and be paying attention, especially those students in the front row who are maybe trying to cheat, okay? And if you do catch a cheater, like I make them stand up and I take 5 points from their team and I make sure their team knows it's because of them, So just like, they just need to learn. Like Teacher Matt is a hawk. I'm watching. I always say, like, I'm very tall and I can see everything and my ears are very, very good. It's not really true. My hearing is not that good, but they don't know that. Okay, so the way it works is I'll push the button. The students can't see the PowerPoint. They're standing there. I push the button. The seated students can see the flashing word on the board, and they need to do the action. Okay, and the first student in the front to say the word engineer gets 2 points. Okay, after they say it, I have the whole class say engineer. You can also play this with just the words if you want to, test their reading, or if you think it's too hard just to have the words there, just the pictures, you can put the pictures and the words. But I'm really trying to test their memory. A lot of the students can read the words very easily. They can read it and sound it out, but that doesn't mean that they know it. But if you really want to give them extra help, you can add in the text there for the students to see it, and then it'll be easier, and then you can remove them when you play it, like in the second half of the game. Okay, so after that, they'll go sit down. I'll bring up 4 more students. Actually, you could play a few rounds with each one, because I have it programmed in that, like, you can go forward with it, and then you can jump back, right, and then do them again. It's okay. So I probably do like 2 or 3 different words with each group of students at the front, maybe even more, maybe like 4, and then have those students sit down, bring up 4 more students, rinse and repeat. I probably wouldn't do it more than a few rounds, and I'm just going to say this again, just because the students sitting down are not the ones who are playing the game in the front, this is a full class activity. All the students are watching and doing the actions. Okay, and another way to get them to want to do the actions is, if you notice while you're playing the game that like one of the rows, because the teams are in rows, are really doing the actions really well, you can give extra points during the game. Like, oh wow, team 2, they're really doing the actions really well. Team 2, extra point. Wow, the rest of the class sees that, and now they all want to, be on par and and do the actions as well, and then the whole class can get extra points. So there's ways of encouraging them, and like I said, they're all playing. So even though you only have like maybe during the game 8 or 12 students come up and actually play, which might be like a third or a fourth of the whole class, the whole class is involved and they're listening and seeing everything. Okay, so they are learning even though they're not the ones standing up there saying everything. Okay, they're learning to memorize the words and learning it and putting it in their memory. Okay, so play a few rounds. If it's the first time you're playing this game, you could play a little bit longer. The kids will probably really, really like this game. It's exciting. And also another thing for classroom management is between the rounds, like after let's say 4 students come up, they play, they get the points, and they sit down, I signal with my hands and I say be quiet, or I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the whole class needs to be quiet before I then select the next 4 to come up. Okay, definitely settle them between each round. Okay, every transition between like teaching and games, every round of a game, everything during class, you need to do a countdown, get the class quiet. Otherwise, it'll just be like a steadily increasing noise level of the class. So you need to settle them back down. If you notice that one of the rows is like really, after you say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they're the first team that's quiet, I'm like, wow, team 3, wow, they're quiet so quickly. Team 3, extra point. Okay, I even do something in my class where I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The last group to become quiet loses 3 points. Okay, you will hear birds chirping out the window when you do that because they all don't want to be the team that is the last to be quiet. Okay, because this class, the points could come down to like a 2-point loss. So they don't want like to just lose points just because they can't get quiet quick enough. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so the next activity, this is an optional activity. I'm including it here because I feel like if someone's going to buy this PowerPoint off me, I should include stuff that maybe like I maybe won't do in this lesson, but maybe they want to do, and so it's already here ready for you if you do want it, just to give you some more value. So some teachers might not enjoy doing the action game, or it gets their class too excited, or you want to focus on, you think your students are going to learn it better if they have to write the words. There's a writing game here. Okay, so it's really simple. If you have four teams on the board, have 4 different spaces for them to write, like 4 different lines on the board. You can actually have a designated student who's responsible in your class to take care of the board. Just tell them, okay, draw 4 lines on the board for each team, and then literally very simple. You just show the word, and they need to write it. Okay, and the first student to write it gets a point, or 3 points, or whatever you want. And you could do like the first student to write it gets, like, even if it's spelled wrong, can get 1 point, and then the first student who wrote it and it's spelled right can get like 3 points or whatever. Yes, they're going to be trying to cheat off each other, but whoever's first doing it is going to be first. They can't cheat off someone else. Okay, if you want to help them, you could put the flashcards on the board. I didn't put the flashcards on, the correct spelling on the PowerPoint because I want to see if they can do it. They all do have notebooks. They were just writing them down, so they should have some sort of like writing it down does have an influence on some of their memory, obviously. So they should be able to try to write it down, okay? And I started with the easy one, and then obviously those 4 students sit down. The next group comes up, and I'll show this one. This one also not that difficult, but they might mix up the I and the E, So this is just another example. Like I said, I probably won't do this game in my class, but I wanted to include it here just to give you another option. A lot of teachers do like this on a writing game, and writing stuff down. They are taking notes, writing stuff in the game, and being able to spell is important. And some students will remember the words through the spelling, in the future. So there is something to be said about that. Okay. Okay, teaching part 2. So again, I'm going to show them the word in their native language, in this case Chinese, and see who knows it. Okay. They should probably know it. I would say probably. Maybe only 30% of 5th graders know this in my school. So I'll show it, and they'll write it down. Okay, I'll say it a few times, and we'll move on. And now I want to show them the full question in Chinese and see if they can translate it. Okay, and I'll actually say to them, who can translate this into English? I'm doing this on purpose because I want them to hear this word translate. I want them to hear, because I'm going to say that a lot. Who can translate this into English? Can you give me the translation? And also because I want to make sure everyone in the class knows what the question in this class is. I want to make sure. I in the past have not always done this, and I just assume they must understand the meaning, the exact meaning, because a lot of the words in the sentence are they're not that difficult. Right, but then they'll have students in the class who maybe aren't given their full attention at every moment, and they don't know. So I want a Chinese student in grade 5 can look at that Chinese sentence and instantly read it and know exactly what it means. There's no it's so simple. It's such a simple meaning in Chinese for them. They're gonna know it, and we'll all be on the same page. And when I show them the English translation, they'll know exactly now what the sentence means, and I won't have to worry that during class I'm like, do they really know what the sentence mean, what this question means? So I'm doing this on purpose. So I'll ask if any students can translate into English, and obviously the answer is already there. Okay, so they might be able to figure out what it is. Okay, and if they can, or even if they can't, I'm going to show it to them, and they're going to write it down. What do you want to be when you grow up? Okay, what do you want to be when you grow up? And in the past, I have taught actions for this entire sentence, but in this class, for time, I probably won't, okay? And I'll have them write it down. I'll give them a minute or so to write down the question and the answer. So what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a space when I grow up, okay? And once they write it down, I'll go to probably one student in each team, and I'll have that student stand up, and I'll say, okay, team 1, please ask him the question. So they'll say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Really good job, team 1. Team 1 gets 2 points. They asked the question beautifully. And then that student, I want to be a police officer when I grow up. Good job. 1 more point for team 1. Team 2, who would like to try? Okay, she'd like to try. Stand up. Everyone on team 2, ask her the question. What do you want to be when you grow up? Good job, team 2. Perfect. Wow. Good job. 2 points. She says, I want to be a scientist when I grow up. Good job, team 2. Team 2, 1 more points. And rinse and repeat for the remaining teams. Okay, real simple. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a ton of time having them drill it now, because for the next 2 games, we're going to be using this exact same language, okay? The games I have are designed to get them to drill this sentence again and again and again and again. So here, I don't need to spend a ton of time having them drill it. Just one time through, it's enough. And we can move into the actual games where they're going to say this language again and again and again and again. Okay, so let's move on.
It's time for the monkey game.
Okay, so yes, I created this game. That is my voice. The monkey game. It's based on the ninja game. Okay, the ninja game is a game I've been playing for a few years, and I wanted to make my own version of it, so I call it the monkey game. So it works the same as the ninja game, and pretty much the way it works is there are 4 different fruits, and each fruit represents one of the teams. Like I said, if you have only 2 teams, each team can have 2 fruits, and I will assign each team to one of the fruits. You have the apple team, the banana team, the orange team, and the strawberry team. And on the top, you can see the occupations. And here's how it's going to work. So I will select one student from each team. They'll stand up at their seats, and I'll say, okay, you are the strawberry team. Okay, so Team Strawberry, which one do you want? And they'll say, I want doctor. Okay, so she decides she wants doctor. You can see that the border around each of these vocabulary words is a different color, and that they correspond with the colors here. So if this student says that she wants to be the doctor, around the doctor's red, so I click red and the strawberry goes to red. Okay, then I ask the next student, which one do you want? And I'll actually be like, which one do you want? And you can actually have the class say that if you like. And he says, oh, I want to be a police officer. Okay, so the orange goes to police officer. And the next team, the banana team, says that he wants to be a programmer, and this student wants to be a soldier. Now, if they want to be the same thing, it's fine. Like if this student also wants to be the police officer, that's fine, or a programmer, it doesn't matter. You can change it, okay? But in this case, I'm going to say that they're the soldier, okay? And then the whole class will ask the question. So, what do you want to be when you grow up? They have the whole class asking the question. You can have them asked by rows, but in my class, generally, I just have the whole class ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? Okay, and then I'll start with the strawberry girl. So she says, I want to be a doctor when I grow up. Okay, banana team, I want to be a programmer when I grow up. The next team, the orange team, I want to be a police officer when I grow up. And the soldier, I want to be a soldier when I grow up. If they all say it pretty well, I give 1 point. Or if they're really struggling, I'll give 2 points to the ones who did it really well and only 1 point to the others. And then I'll have the whole class say, send the monkeys. Okay, and I click here and the monkeys will come. Now, if a monkey goes to where they are, the monkey is going to eat that fruit and their team is going to lose. Okay, so if a monkey goes to where their fruit is, they essentially lose. Okay, and any place where there's no monkey, okay, will win. Okay, it might be 1 team, it might be 2 teams, it might be 3 teams, who knows? So they don't know. It's no one knows. I mean, I don't even know where I put the monkeys. I can't. There's no way I could remember either. Okay, so I say send the monkeys, and the whole class says send the monkeys, and I click.
Monkey, 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 monkey. Monkey, 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 monkey. Monkey, monkey, monkey. Monkey, 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 monkey.
Oh no. Okay, obviously that's all my voice. I'm the voice actor for all that, so I'm sorry it's corny, but I think it's funny. The kids will think it's funny as well. So everyone loses, okay? No one chose the engineer. The engineer was the one that was the safe place to go, okay? And like I said, they all could have chosen the same one. If they all said, I want to be the engineer, that's fine. They can all go to engineer, okay? So then those 4, in this case, no one wins. Teacher Matt would actually get points in this case. So if no one wins generally in a game, Teacher Matt gets the 3 points or the 5 points or whatever you want it to be in this case. And then you rinse and repeat. The next team, you can start on the opposite side. So this student says they want to be a programmer, doctor. This one says that he wants to be a scientist. And this one says that he wants to be a soldier. Okay? The whole class says, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they all answer one by one. okay? Like I said before, you could have them ask by teams, team one ask and have the student from team one answer, okay? If team one asks really well, they can get extra points. Team two asks their representative, okay? If they ask really well, team two gets extra points, 2 extra points, or you can actually say, if you ask really well, I'll give you up to 5 points. You could encourage them in this way, like have 5 points be perfect, 1 point be bad, or if students aren't saying it, you can point them out. Oh no, this team should have had 5 points, but he is not asking the question. What are you doing? This boy, stand up. Why didn't you ask the question? Team 3 only gets 4 points because of you. Okay? And then he'll feel the pressure in the future to pay attention. So you can do it like that. And then send the monkeys. The whole class says it.
Monkey, 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 monkey.
No, apple team.
Monkey, 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 monkey.
Banana team, no.
Monkey, monkey, monkey.
Oh, apple team again.
Monkey, 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 monkey.
Oh, banana team again. So the orange team and the strawberry team will get points, 3 points or 5 points, and they'll be going wild. And it's funny when we're playing this game because they love this game. And once they know how it works, they're so excited. They're like, yeah, oh. Or they think sometimes I program it so there's only 3 monkeys, And so for the beginning of the game, there's just 3 monkeys come, 3 monkeys come, 3 monkeys come, and then the 4th round, 4 monkeys come. But when all the first 3 come, there's one team that they didn't lose, okay? And they think they're in the clear, they're safe. And all of a sudden, that last monkey comes and is like, no! And it's funny. So this is the monkey game. It's a great way to get them to drill the language. Again, make sure you're having them all say the full sentence, okay? The whole class asks the question or the team asks the question and each student says the full sentence response. The point of this game and all of my games is to get them to say the target language again and again and again and again. I want to beat it into their head so they don't forget it, And in the future, when you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? They can fluently produce this sentence because they've said it so many times, okay? So it's just some food for thought. Remember, if you do download this PowerPoint or if you're designing your own lessons for your own class, make sure you make them say the whole sentence. Design games with the ultimate goal of getting them to say the target language again and again and again. It'll help them, okay? And I know from personal experience learning Chinese that hearing and saying sentences again and again and again is how I've learned to say fluent sentences in Chinese. I mean, I know that. When I was first learning, I would just be repeating stuff, repeating phrases. I would be repeating phrases in my head all day so that when someone did ask me or when I need to use it, fluently produced. Okay, let's move on. Okay, the next game is the keep or give game. Now, in the keep or give game, the students are going to decide if they want to keep whatever the points are or give whatever the points are, but they don't know what the points are. They don't know if they're positive points or negative points. Okay, so when I play the keep or give game, there's 2 parts. The first part is another chance to earn points. So they're going to use the target language to answer a question with, in this case, 3 possible answers. If they choose the correct answer at this step, they can get 3 points, okay? So for example, I'll bring up one student from one of the teams or just have them stand up at their seat. Their team will ask them the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'll give extra points for their team for asking very nicely. And that student will choose one of these 3 occupations, okay? If they choose the correct one, they can get 3 points. Only one of them is correct. So for example, they say, I want to be a scientist when I grow up. Okay, so I'll click scientist, and that's wrong. Okay, and I purposefully put the word wrong there instead of just having an X because I want them to see this. Some students will know this already, some won't, but the more they see it, the more it'll get into their memory. So this is just an example of some extra language that's on the PowerPoint that they're hearing me say, and the whole class will start saying wrong as the weeks go on. They'll learn this, and then every single time you say that word, they know what it means. In this case, the right answer was, I believe, engineer. Yeah, engineer was the right answer. So in this case, they won't get the extra points, but regardless if they get it right or wrong, they get to move on to the next step. So the next step is the whole class will say, do you want to keep or give? Okay? Or you can just have that team ask the question again. It's up to you. I like to have the whole class say it. So they'll say, do you want to keep or give? And they decide. I want to keep or I want to give. Now, if they say keep, we just show what the points are. Okay? If they say give, you need to ask them, which team do you want to give it to? Okay? And they will decide. They'll say like team 2 or team 3 or team 4, if they're team 1, for example. So let's say they say give. I say, which team do you want to give it to? And they say team 3. And I say, oh, team 3, are you ready? And then they'll say either yes or no. You know, they're nervous. And so then you push it. And team 3 is yeah. And team 1 is no. Because if team 1 said keep, they would get 3 points. But instead they gave team 3 3 points. So team 3 is like, yeah. And I say, team 3, say, thank you. And team 3 turns, thank you. Or thank you very much. And then that team is like, you know. And then you move on to the next slide, okay? So team 2, I choose one student. They say to their teammate, the whole team will ask their teammate, what do you want to be when you grow up? Good job, team 2. You asked very beautifully. Give points, either 1 or 5 points, whatever, however well they asked, and that team chooses. I want to be a police officer when I grow up. All right, so I choose police officer. Oh, wrong. And I'll actually show them, okay, was it soldier or it was programmer? It was programmer, okay? So regardless of what they chose, if they're right or wrong, they get to go on to the next step, and the whole class will say, do you want to keep or give? And they're like, the last one was +3, so this one must be negative, okay? I try to like trick them, and I'll put like 2 negatives together, 2 positives together, just really try to trick them. I actually don't remember what I did here, but in this case, the student will probably say, well, it was plus before, it's probably negative now, so I should give it to another team. So they'll say, I want to, and because this is team 2, and they already know team 3 just got 3 easy points from team 1 for doing nothing, they're like, I'm going to give this to team 3. I'm giving this to team 3. So they say, I want to give this. I want to give. And I say, which team? They say team 3. And I show it. And yes, team 3. And team 3 is like, -1. But we got +3 before. This is only -1. We're still doing pretty well. And that student sits down. Then you move on to team 3. So this is how the game works. And you'll rinse and repeat. And again, remember, the main part of this is the target language. You're asking them to ask the question together. They're seeing this a bunch of times. They're answering the question in a full sentence using the target language. And it's fun. And Keep or Give is a great game. The students really love it. And like I said, my Keep or Give has 2 parts. So it's not just, the game part, keeping or giving. It's, there's this other part that they can actually earn extra points. You hear my cat in the background crying. He really wants to come out, but there's too much delicate stuff on the table right now that he'll jump up and mess with, so he's going to have to stay in there for now. All right, let's move on. Okay, so the final part of this lesson is a little writing activity. So let's write. So this is how it works. I'll say write and answer these 2 questions. So they'll take out their notebook and they will write the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I gave an example here. I want to be a programmer when I grow up. Okay, so all they need to do is write this question again and answer it, okay? And then optional is they can say, why do you want to be? Okay, so why do you want to be a programmer? And see if they can give an answer. Now, in the next week's lesson, I'm actually going to teach that language and teach the reasons why someone might want to be each of these professions. But I just want to see that they can do it. Now, this part is just really to get them to settle down, get quiet, write in their notebook, and then I will have students present. They'll come up and stand there and they'll just say it. It's very simple, but I want to get them used to coming up in front of the group and stuff like that. So you can see that I have even more professions on here than what I taught in class. Like I have cook and teacher, fireman, pilot, just a few extras that they might be interested in. And if they do want to answer the second question, I'll be going around the room, while they're doing this. And actually, I'm doing this on purpose. I want to see who's going to want to go above and beyond. Who's going to want to, try to answer this, the second question. They don't need to though, okay? So I'll be going up and down and seeing, and then I'll who would like to share? So There's an example. I want to be an engineer when I grow up. And I have an example here with a picture of a girl and a picture of a boy, and so I'll just have like, okay, team one, who would like to come up? They'll raise their hand, come on up, and the whole class will say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they'll say, I want to be an engineer when I grow up. And they can go sit down, and they're just sharing, I'll ask them why do you want to be an engineer? And they'll see if they had written down an answer. I'll look and see if they had written down an answer. If so, they can give their answer. There's no pressure for them to give that second answer. I want to see what they can do, because before I teach the next week's lesson, I want to see like what their level is. What are they, what are they already able to do? And it's just something a habit of doing as a teacher is I'm always trying to see what they already know. That way, like when I'm designing my classes for the future, I can better prepare for it. Or if I have the class already made, which in this case I already have the next class made, maybe I'll go back and make changes. Maybe the way that they give the answer, the answer they give, like I like that language a little bit better, or I'll change something, or I like to see what they can already do. So I want to end the class with a little writing activity. It settles them down, and because these games will be very exciting. So if you don't get to this activity, if you run out of time in class, it's totally fine. This is just, it's almost like a way to close the class if there's a few minutes left, and just get them in the habit with their notebook and stuff like that. So that's the whole lesson. I hope you guys learned something there. So, at the end of class, don't forget, count the score and award a star. You got to keep track of stars over the week so that the students are motivated to pay attention and behave well in class. So don't forget, very crucial. Okay? And that's it. Thank you.
All right, that's the end of the walkthrough video. I really hope you guys enjoyed that, and hopefully you even learned something. If you do want to teach that lesson yourself, don't forget, there's a link in the video description below, and you can download it in minutes. As always, don't forget to smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It'd really help out my channel. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, and also don't forget to subscribe, because I'm going to keep putting out more videos like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.